Tulsi Gabbard called it.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers who are driven by cowardly wokeness. Now, I believe in a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. Unfortunately, today's Democratic Party does not. Instead, it stands for a government that is of, by, and for the powerful elite. Now, I'm calling on my fellow common sense, independent-minded Democrats to join me in leaving the Democratic Party. If you can no longer stomach the direction that the so-called woke Democratic Party ideologues are taking our country, then I invite you to join me.
I like Tulsi. I used to like Tulsi. And somebody asked me, like, what do you think about Tulsi for 2024? I'm like, whatever. Like, it's just, I'm bored. I'm bored with Tulsi. I liked her principles. I actually liked her as a Democrat because she moved the party into a practical direction. But she's sitting here, she's criticizing the Democratic Party. If she would have done this and criticized the two-party system, how the two-party system is responsible for circumventing democracy, how it's hard to be a party of warmongers and Democrats, and it's really, there's not an option to go then be a party of the part of the party who started the Iraq War that led us to where we are today. Like that's one thing. Like from Vietnam and Iraq, the other things. Like there's a long list of the reasons and correlates into how we end up where we are today. And there's a really interesting discussion to be had there that has nothing to do with wokeness, because wokeness has its equal on the right. You can't sit here and tell me that the right is pro-freedom. They're not pro-freedom, right? Like a party that harbors Christian nationalists and doesn't criticize them is not pro-freedom, Tulsi. And I'm not sitting here being like, I'm not praising the Democratic Party. I hold them to account more than anybody else. And when a Republican wins in 2024, I will be doing the same thing. Okay, I'm not here to suck politicians' dicks or their pussies or whatever, equal opportunity. I am here to be critical. And what you've done is switch teams and then be like, well, the team I was on, you're a conservative's wet dream. And one thing I liked about Tulsi and why I liked her in the Democratic Party is because she was there to hold the Democratic Party to account. She could call bullshit when bullshit needed to be called. And I liked that. And I like that. That's why I will never say I'm technically still a liberal, because I'm holding on to that term because it means something to me. And I'd rather be on the left and hold the left accountable for their bullshit, right? Now, neo-libs, different conversation. I can't influence that world at all. But like, you guys know who I'm talking about. They're center left, center right. Like, I mean, even libertarians are more liberal in a lot of ways than in real liberal. And there's a big push. And I talked to somebody who's actually a university professor that reached out to me on Instagram talking about how even the students and people are like, oh, well, they're being indoctrinated into the left, but they're really exhibiting more of a civil libertarian leftism in Gen Z, which I'm like, okay, now that piques my interest. You're talking about people like are we coming full circle back to like what liberals were, which we remember this, and like JFK liberals are civil libertarians, but they also think that the government has a role in creating a robust society. And I believe that as well. I don't sit here and think, well, government's bad, centralization is bad, blah, 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 blah. For these reasons, it's like, well, there's nuance to it, right? In some areas, regulations are terrible. Like when they inhibit small businesses and like a salon has to have like 30 sinks and this other stuff. When I opened a gym, I had to have 2 handicap bathrooms. It cost me $60,000 and I couldn't use that capital to hire people. So I was in a really bad spot from the beginning and the gym failed. A lot of that had to do with regulations. That's disgusting. Now, when we're talking about like, can Dow Chemical dump whatever they want into like streams and shit? No, that's not, that regulation there is important, right? The one-sided criticism from Tulsi Gabbard, it's attention whoring. It's all it is. It's all I see it as. I don't see this as some kind of like robust criticism of our current system. I don't see this as something that's pro-democracy. I don't see this as something that's anti-war. How much friction has there been from the Republicans as far as what's going on with Ukraine right now and how much Lockheed Martin's getting paid? Has Dan Crenshaw spoke up? No, because he's a cunt. The whole entire government is built of warmongers. And instead of Tulsi taking a principled stance and fighting against that, she's pointing about warmongers on one side. It's disgusting. Now, maybe she'll like adopt some kind of like conservative populism, like real conservative populism, but I doubt it, because that's not what the Republican Party's about. And that's where she's going. She's not going to be, I'm going to run independent. If that was the case, I'd be like, yeah, Tulsi, but she's not. She doesn't have the balls to do that. So I'm pretty disappointed in the way that she handled this. I'm not disappointed she left the Democratic Party. Like she's been out of the Democratic Party for a long time. And I understand why. But I enjoyed her being on there just because it pissed off Hillary Clinton, which everybody enjoys. I hope you're having a great day. You know what would make my day really, really good? Is if you subscribe to this channel, turn on post notifications, and like this video. It would mean a lot to me, and it would really help us overcome the content moderation that seems to have a bit of an influence on who sees our videos, when, where, and why. Make your day better, make my day better, and let's just move forward together.